we'll take one more audience one, and then we'll go to one of the ones that were done before.
Sewage works at Honey Hill between Fenton and Morningsea, if allowed to go ahead, will be at least the size of Wembley. The carbon cost of demolishing the old site and pouring millions of tons of concrete on a principal chalk aquifer, of pumping sewage uphill to Honey Hill, etc., is immeasurable and as yet unquantified. Homes England has recently awarded Anglian Water an extra 50 million on top of the 227 million already granted. Proof, as if it was needed, that funding issues exist and costs are already spiralling. If climate change should be at the heart of planning and new developments, can the panel agree that moving a fully functioning sewage works with capacity for the growing population of Cambridge to a principal chalk aquifer on Greenbelt in order to create a brownfield site is a bonkers idea of the highest order?
Hello, and thank you for coming along and saying your question so vociferously. It's very good. The Green Party have consistently supported, opposed the moving of the sewage plant to Honey Hill. I think we're the only party to oppose it, and we've been saying so in consultations all over the years. So this has been a long project. It's absolutely bonkers to be building on a chalk aquifer when our chalk aquifers are so threatened and our water supply depends on them. So I think it's absolutely crazy, and I think that your campaign is absolutely brilliant. I wholeheartedly support it, and I hope everybody tonight helps with this campaign. Thank you.
Exactly what she said.
Okay, that was very succinct. Janie, why don't you go next?
You really, really do. My question would be, if not to Honey Hill, then to where? Because for me, my question then would be that how do we make that argument to those thousands of homes that could be created?
97,000 square metres of commercial research and development space. It's not about the housing, and we know it. It would actually
I would argue it's absolutely about building homes. Cambridge has an ambitious local plan for house building, which it needs to have. I'm happy to not answer if I'm not allowed to.
Can I also just remind everyone to do kind of respectful listening as well? Candidates are here to give their answers, so let's let them go. Cheney, would you like to?
Thank you. I'm happy to answer if I can speak. I'm happy to talk to you afterwards as well. But the North East Cambridge site is a key part of the local plan, which does have an ambitious house building strategy. And unfortunately, and I think this is one of those uncomfortable arguments, I said earlier on that some of the issues that we have to face in the future will not be crowd pleasers. And providing homes for young people, for the key workers we need to keep the city moving, for the students I'm teaching, for our NHS workers, is essential. Otherwise, in 50 years' time, we'll be in a city where we simply don't have the public sector there to support the people living in it, with an ageing population and no public services. The North East Cambridge site is a key part of that plan. It's a brownfield site. It's a place to link thousands of homes. It also... I'm happy to stop if you're not prepared to let me speak.
It is important to actually, once you've asked your question, which you did just insert in, to actually let them... Thank you.
Thank you. And also within those proposals are bus links, cycle links, schools and surgeries. The position it's at the moment, from what I understand, is that the movement is now being reviewed by an independent inspector because it's judged that effectively as the council as the planning authority for this, it's not right for it to mark its own homework. It's not right for it to review the decisions made within its own local plan. So that decision is now sitting independently about where the place for the sewage works would need to be. it does need to move in order for the housing to happen. The Liberal Democrats within this, we've launched a long campaign to try and improve the ratio of open space. That's both informal space, so open fields, but also formal space, so things like football pitches and sports areas and shared gardens, to try and reduce that. And we've been successful. And that's what we've had to really push, I would say, the Labour administration in the city, who wanted to reduce that to beneath the local plan levels. So it's uncomfortable. I really do get your anger, honestly. But for me, building those homes and providing the future where Cambridge can continue to grow, because Cambridge is a lovely place to be, is really important too.
Thank you. Jane, you want to go next?
Thank you. What did I say at the start? They don't listen to your views, they don't care about your priorities, and they completely ignore it and do what they want to do regardless. I couldn't agree with more than what you said. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's disgusting, frankly.
Completely with you, to be honest. I cannot believe what's going on there. Number one. Number two, we have green built area, and it's now is gone. We are destroying, over-expanding the city, and we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough GP surgeries, we don't have enough security for the city, we don't have enough water supply even for the new build. This is unacceptable. We have to stand with the people. We have to stand with our green area, green belt. We cannot just throw our sewage here and there. This morning, when I bought this newspaper, I was reading villagers find used toilet roll in field with sewage bubbling up. It's horrible. What's going on around? So Cambridge is not Cambridge anymore. Expanding, destroying the green area, not acceptable. We have to stop, review everything, and keep the city very green, very eco, safe for everyone. I'm anti over-expanding when we don't have facility to clean the city from inside. The city from inside is disaster. I'm going around, I feel sorry. 10 years, it's getting every day, every year, worse and worse. And we are expanding, and throwing our sewage to our neighbors. I'm really sorry for your feeling. I'm standing with you completely. I'm anti this disaster. I can't accept this anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel.
Well, Cheney gave a very good answer, in my view, and explained part of the problem. I've been very struck by the canvassing we've been doing, the number of young people who have said to me, you've got to do something about the housing crisis, because not only can people not hope to buy in this city, they can't even afford to rent. So there's an intergenerational fairness issue here. The young people are having a really, really tough time, and that will require more housing. And anyone who's had a tour of the current sewage site, I did on Christmas Eve, amazingly enough, a few years ago, would be staggered to see the huge amount of space that's wasted there at the moment. So I have to say, it seems to me, I understand absolutely why people don't want it to happen, but we need those homes, absolutely essential, and that's why I very much back the moves that the council has made. And it will help so many people, and that's got to be done.
Well, I'd just like to ask, why does it have to be done then?
Because this is a crowded city. I just suggest to people they go and actually have a look, obviously with permission. But it's a huge amount of space. And it is a sensible approach. We have a planning system. That's why the councils do what they do to try and find ways of resolving these issues. I quite get that people don't ever want anything to change, but frankly, for those of us, and there's plenty of people in this audience who are older, you want people to look after you in the future, you need young people to live here and work here, we're going to need the housing, it's got to go somewhere, and that's actually a very rational place to put something. Cheney's probably in a better position to answer than I am, because she's a councillor who's actually involved. But my understanding is it's many, many thousands of homes.
It's 5,614,000 jobs. It's going to make the housing situation far
5,600 homes would be very welcome to many, many people who are really struggling in this city.
Gobble them up and more. It will crowd the city out. It will actually put an incredible burden on city services. And it's the big lie of this campaign is that growth is about houses. It's not about houses. Ordinary workers, they're being sold off abroad. I mean, I'm just trying to contribute to the debate.
Did you have a question that was a follow-up here? Yes.
Thank you. I'm Naomi Bennett. I am a Green Party councillor. I sit on planning. I also sit on the Strategy and Resources Committee. So here are a few facts. The Milton Sewage Works is actually our only local sewage works which is up to modern standard. It was modernised at taxpayer expense in 2014 and is supposedly future-proofed until 2050. Speakers who have said that there would be 5,630 houses on homes on the new site are correct. Now, the City Planning Service uses a metric of 1.7 jobs that can be satisfied per home. So my mental arithmetic is not great. I reckon that's about 8,000 to 9,000 jobs. We were talking about 14,000 jobs being created on the North Cambridge site. So, and unfortunately, it's likely that's going to have to go up because of the financial strain. So actually, rather than solving our homes crisis, we're actually going to be overheating our housing economy. And I'd like to ask Daniel Zeichner and Cheney Payne to look at the work done in Broken Cities by the Labour academician, Professor Deborah Potts of King's College, where she sets out this study beautifully. Thank you very much for putting up with me.
Thank you. Clearly, so many of the issues are around growth and kind of Cambridge also as a proposed centre for an enormous amount of growth. So, these issues both are enormously local as well as broader issues. Right, we are.
But it should be discussed. This is one of the major issues.
Yeah, of course.
Why don't we answer?
Well, we have been. We have been.
I mean, there is an issue with this mantra that we have to add enormous amounts of housing to Cambridge. I ask why?
Yeah.
What benefit to the people?
We have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to take one more question while we can. And can I ask the man in the check shirt there to ask a question and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Cameron. I work as a carpenter in the city. I also campaign with Insulate Britain and Just Stop Oil. As we're all hearing, insulation really good. I have a criminal record for asking for it when we were needing this decades ago and it hasn't been done. I just wanted to know, really, cornerstone of democracy being protest has been eroded over the last few years by the Conservative Party in this country. And people like myself and many others, I'm sure, in this room have been demonized in the media, and the media is also, unfortunately, full of Conservative MPs in some stations. So my question is, how do you feel about people like me and other normal people who are trying to use the form of protest to change things? And now you've got groups like Just Stop Oil who've been saying we need to get off fossil fuel licenses. And in 10, 20 years' time, we will look back, as we do with the suffragettes and these other movements, and we look back to say, oh, they were right. I wish we hadn't criminalized them. But with the climate crisis, we won't get hindsight. So I just want to know what you think and feel about people like me, activists. That's my question.
Thank you for your question. I can't help but think that was directed somewhat at me. So look, the right to protest is a massive right in this country that we have to protect and uphold at all costs. But there is a clear distinction between the right to protest and the right for people to go about their daily lives. Look, Cameron, you acknowledged in the first sentence that you have a criminal record for your activity.
I was arrested at Parliament Square for protesting Parliament Square. Where else are you meant to protest?
So
I was arrested in Parliament Square also.
So I think as well, it's quite disingenuous to compare some of the actions, not necessarily you, but your organisation do with the suffragettes, right? So protesting and committing criminal damage, throwing paint on people during their weddings is...
Burning churches done.
So to answer the question directly, of course the right to protest is important, but committing criminal offences is never an okay form of protest.
I think you're bloody brilliant, thank you. I think for me the right to protest and peaceful protest, of course, is one of the fundamental bedrocks of our society. I'm a liberal democrat. Liberal means freedom, and so we fundamentally believe in individual liberty, and the liberal democrats exist to build and safeguard a fair, free and open society, and the role of protest in that is absolutely critical. And often it is those protests, it is the people who are working 10, 15 years behind the politicians and behind the legislation change that win the public will and that move hearts and minds. So for me, that right to protest should absolutely be held up to be sacrosanct and should be protected. I think there's an argument around making sure that's done in the right place. And protesting in Parliament Square, for instance, is exactly where the right to protest should be allowed to happen, because there it's not affecting the public, it's not causing problems, but it is putting it right in front of the politicians who should be hearing that. So I absolutely support the right to protest, and thank you for what you're doing.
The right to protest is fundamental, but can you tell me in what way you protest and why you've been arrested before I answer you?
Sure, so I have been on the roads because the streets is where people have always gone to voice their desires for change. And so when we are ignored or put in the protest pen outside Houses of Parliament where they're allowing now the protest to happen, we are so ignored. And we are doing it because we're desperate. We've been ignored.
What are you doing?
So I glued myself to the M25. That's how desperate for insulation I am.
It's dangerous, but yeah, it is. Serious. So, yeah, that's the other thing, but I presume that okay, how do you answer that?
To join Insulate Britain or Just Stop Oil, you have to go to Non-Violence Direct Action Training Day, so that we make sure everyone knows how to stay calm in the face of what is a heightened situation. And we always remain non-violent. You wouldn't believe the amount of planning and things that go into these actions to make sure that the public is safe, that we have a blue lights policy to ensure that ambulances can still get through in a lane that isn't glued. We're not idiots that wake up that morning and go,
Fair enough, but wait, let's hear this gentleman. You argue.
What Just Oil have done is lost the public support. I need to get to work, and I've been stopped from getting from A to B because somebody's glued themselves. That doctor needs to get to the hospital to treat his patients. It hasn't happened. There's a place for everything. And when you take on protest, I actually believe protest is a right. However, it needs to be done responsibly.
So it looks like there's a balance, right? There's a balance between what you're doing and there's a balance between the effect on the people.
But I'm not a political party. Just Stop Oil is not a political party. We, and Extinction Rebellion, have perhaps pushed the agenda of the climate crisis way further ahead than it would have been today had those groups not disrupted roads. And it's the job of the politicians now to be the ones that we like. I don't care if people like me or not, okay? I'm here to get fossil fuel licenses.
Why don't you do it in a way that attracts other people? In this way, you would surely win the argument.
Okay, I'm sorry that you got late. Well, you arrived late at work, but we've just passed the limit for global warming, 1.5 degrees, for over a year now. Okay, Cambridge is going to be flanked by water in less than a decade. So there's other issues at stake. Okay, if any of you have children, you need to be thinking about this. Life is going to get Very complicated. Very complicated. And I am thankful to any activists that get in the way because the government is not doing it. The Labour Party is not doing it. The Liberal Democrats are not doing it. You are still going to be, you're not going to cancel Rosebank. That's what needs to happen. Okay, I beg to differ. But yeah, I'm really, really proud to know many activists in this room. When I introduced Leonard to Cameron, when he was 4 years old, I said, this is a hero right here. This is someone you're going to be thanking as you get older, okay? Because things are going to get very complicated. I'm just so grateful. I think the right to protest is fundamental, as David said. David?
There is a need to have responsibility towards people who want to live their lives. You have to balance your rights against others.
But I think that we need to protect the right to protest. We absolutely do. Otherwise, we're becoming an authoritarian state, and that's really, really dangerous. So we need to be very, very careful about that. Yes, XR, amazing, amazing. I was part of the Changing Conversations, which we ran with Tony and a few other people in the room, and it was like I just had a baby at that time, so I couldn't really get totally involved in XR. But I was full of admiration about the level of organisation and detail that went into the action that XR and now JSO and now Insulate Britain are doing. So keep going, and I'll finish there. If you want to talk more later, let's do it.
Of course, it's absolutely essential that the right to peaceful protest is protected, but I absolutely agree with what Abdul Amin has been saying, that we also have to respect the rights of people to go about their business. And the really important thing here is don't lose the support of the public. When I warned earlier about what's happening across Europe at the moment, it's not going the way in which most of us would like to see in this room. And the danger is that we lose public support. So do it in the right kind of way, absolutely. But the great thing is, this is an election period. You've got the chance to vote for a party that's going to decarbonise the power system by 2030. That's exactly what you want, alongside the insulation schemes. So whether it's your protest or not, we're going to do it, and I hope you'll support us in that.
Thank you very much. I'm always standing with the protest because it's the only way sometimes we can change. And myself, I was supporting the protest to cease the fire and stop the genocide in the Holy Land. Now, I would like to be the first MB to stand and protest with you, but in a safe way. Because I used to do the M25 going down to Royal Marsden Hospital to do my training over there as an oncology consultant. And really, I used to drive from 5 a.m. going down to Royal Marsden to start the MDT at 7 a.m. So if there is any problem with the way, I will struggle to attend. My training will stop. And now I'm consultant after all of these years. So really, there's lots of families needs really, the M25 and businesses and people. So let's do it in a safe way, like how we do it to stop the genocide and I will be the first one standing with you, protesting with you, together in a safe way for our community, for our future. Yes, we are facing disaster. And if we stop protesting, if we stop doing this, they are doing nothing. Just they are talking too much and nothing. You can see all of us suffering. For how long? 2050. Thank you very much.
Now, we are at the end of our time, and I know some people have to leave.
It's more serious than the whole of the African Republic, the whole of 2022. There can be no climate justice about global justice, about global peace. What are we doing to end global humanitarian crisis? What are you doing to end war crime that produces more CO2 than the whole of the African Republic did in 2022?
Important questions, but we're not going to be able to get to them tonight. But I think actually Cameron's question was a great one to end on. It's a really kind of important issue, and it is a broad issue that covers so much. Can I ask a quick question? Has anyone who didn't know what they were voting coming in have a better sense of what they'll be voting? Good. Well, excellent. Well, this is important part of what the evening's about. I want to thank all of you very much for putting yourselves on the line. It's not an easy thing to do. Really appreciate it.